Hi and welcome to a new episode of your weekly medical TV show on الكرمة TV, White Coat. Today we'll talk about the 21st century epidemic, which is diabetes mellitus. Diabetes is a chronic, lifelong condition that affects our body's ability to use energy and glucose found in food. Almost in the United States of America now, 9% are diabetics according to the 2015 statistics. Today we'll talk about the relation between obesity and diabetes, different types of diabetes, symptoms and signs. Today we'll focus on how to diagnose and treat all the expected complications of diabetes as well. In most diabetic patients, the course of the disease and the outcomes basically depend on the patient decision. It could be one of the easiest disease to control, and it's very easy to live with it, or it could be one of the worst disease that can cause a lot of complications, because uncontrolled diabetes can lead to serious complications by damaging blood vessels and organs. It can increase the risk of heart disease, strokes, kidney disease, up to dialysis, nerve damage up to amputations, eye disease up to the point that patient can lose their vision because of diabetes. The decision is all yours, I mean the patient's. It would be my pleasure and honor today to welcome for the first time in White Coat one of the outstanding endocrinologists in Southern California, Dr. Gastelum, to talk to us more about this and teach us more about the diabetes topic. For interaction with the program, send in all your questions and concerns to our official Facebook page, White Coat Alkarma TV. Or if you want to interact with my guest directly today, you can call the numbers that will be shown on the screen at any time during the episode, and we'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. To keep up with us, follow our Facebook page, White Coat Alkarma TV, or to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on White Coat Alkarma. And to watch our latest episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alkarma TV, and activate the notification bell. Before we start off, I would like to celebrate White Coat's second birthday with all White Coat family in front and behind the screen. Thank you all, first for Alkarma TV administration. Thank you for White Coat crew. Thank you for your constructive interaction, and thank you for your support, and happy second birthday White Coat. أعزائي مشاهدي قنوات الكرمة في كل مكان في العالم، بحب أرحب بيكم في حلقة جديدة من برنامجكم الطبي الأسبوعي على شاشات قنوات الكرمة وايت كوت. الحقيقة النهاردة هنتكلم على مشكلة كبيرة جدا في كل العالم، ليها علاقة كبيرة جدا بستايل الحياة اللي احنا ابتدينا، وبيسموها الكارثة الجديدة اللي بتحصل في القرن ال21، وهي مرض السكر. الحقيقة مرض السكر من الأمراض اللي يعني أقدر أقول منتشرة جدا في كل دول العالم بشكل كبير جدا، زي ما أنا قلت نتيجة للتغير في ستايل الحياة والتغير في البروسيسد فود، الأكل اللي احنا بناكله، كل الوجبات السريعة، كل محلات الوجبات السريعة، الصودا، الحاجات دي كلها ساهم بشكل كبير جدا في ازدياد طبعا مرض السكر بشكل كبير، زي ما أنا قلت بيسموه آفة القرن ال21. والحقيقة من الحاجات المهمة جدا نعرفها عن مرض السكر، لأنه في ناس كتير قوي أول ما نبتدي نتكلم معاهم ونقول لهم إنه يعني أنت بقيت دايابيتك أو بقيت مريض للسكر بيتخضوا بشكل كبير جدا. ولكن المقولة الشهيرة دايما اللي بحب نقولها لكل المرضى، إنه مرض السكر بشكل عام ممكن يبقى واحد من أسهل الأمراض اللي ممكن تتعامل معاها، ويبقى الكورس بتاعه على مستوى حياتك سهل جدا، أو ممكن يبقى واحد من أصعب الأمراض اللي ممكن نتعامل معاها، لأنه ليها complications أو مخاطر كبيرة جدا، بس في الآخر القرار بيكون بتاع المريض نفسه. لو حضرتك هتمشي على الخطوات والنصايح اللي بيديها لك الطبيب بتاعك، وكمان مش بس فكرة أدوية، لأنه ده مفهوم يعني مهم جدا عايزين نأكد عليه النهاردة، إنه مرض السكر مش بس هو فكرة الأدوية اللي بتاخدها، الأدوية ملهاش مفعول سحري هيصلحك والدنيا خلاص تمشي على كده، لا. الحقيقة انه مرض السكر واحد من الامراض المهمة جدا اللي لازم نفهم انه ليه لايف ستايل او ستايل حياة لازم يتعاش بيها جنب الادوية، عشان نقدر نتجنب كل الكومبليكيشنز والمخاطر اللي بتحصل لمرضى السكر بشكل كبير جدا. فموضوع مهم. كمان عايز اقول نقطة مهمة جدا، الاحصائيات بقت مرعبة جدا. دولة زي الولايات المتحدة الامريكية 9% من السكان تقريبا، يعني 1 من كل 10 بيعاني من مرض السكر بشكل كبير جدا. مش بس كده، هنتكلم كمان على مرحلة ما قبل مرض السكر، ودي المرحلة اللي لو احنا اكتشفنا المريض فيها بشكل كبير ده بيساعد بشكل كبير جدا في الكورس بتاع العلاج. عايز اقول كمان انه النهارده معايا واحد من يعني من احسن واكبر الناس اللي بتتكلم هنا في جنوب كاليفورنيا. هو رئيس قسم الغدد الصماء في مستشفى PIH، دكتور كريستيان جاسلوم. فعلا يعني انا مبسوط جدا وفخور جدا ان هو معانا النهارده، هيعلمنا ويكلمنا عن مرض السكر بشكل كبير. هيكلمنا على الادويه اللي موجوده في السوق، السايد افكتس او الاعراض الجانبيه المتوقعه، واي مريض يبقى ملائم لانهي نوع من الدواء، لانه مش كل مريض سكر نقدر نحطه على نفس انواع الادويه. كل واحد ليه ظروف مختلفه، في كمان صور مختلفه لمرض السكر، كمان في امراض كتير بتيجي مع مرض السكر، فهنتكلم بشكل كبير على الموضوع ده. زي ما انا قلت، مرض السكر ممكن يبقى اسهل مرض نتعامل معاه، ممكن يبقى اصعب مرض، ولكن القرار بتاع المريض بشكل كبير جدا. مرض السكر من الامراض اللي ليه تداعيات خطيره جدا لو ما تمش السيطره عليه بشكل كويس. بنشوف ناس بتاند اب انها بتغسل كلى لانه له تاثيرات كبيره جدا على الكلى. بنشوف ناس انها بتفقد النظر لانه له تاثيرات كبيره جدا جدا على النظر. واحده من المتابعات الدوريه ان احنا نشوف دكتور العينين. ناس كتيره جدا بتفقد جزء من الاطراف، البتر اللي بيحصل في الصوابع والكلام ده، لانه بيأثر على الاعصاب الطرفيه بشكل كبير. فالحقيقه مرض لو ما تمش السيطره عليه والتعامل معاه صح بيبقى ليه كومبليكيشنز كتيره جدا وكومبليكيشنز سيئه جدا. ما بنحبش نشوف البيشنس بتاعنا عليها، لانه زي ما انا قلت الكومبليكيشنز بتبقى سيئه جدا. قبل ما ابتدي كمان حابب اقول ان احنا يعني هابي بيرثداي لوايت كوت، لانه احنا بقالنا معاكم اولموست سنتين. حابب اشكر اداره قنوات الكرمة، لانه زي ما انا قلت من غير الفيجن والسبورت اللي بيجي من المانجمنت بارت ما نقدرش ان احنا كنا نكمل مع حضراتكم. حابب اشكر كل اسره وايت كوت اللي قدام الكاميرات واللي ورا الكاميرات حضراتكم، واللي قدام الكاميرات كل الكرو اللي بيشتغل، لانه يعني فعلا احنا زي عيله. بشكرهم واحد واحد على كل السبورت وكل الهارد ورك اللي حطوه في وايت كوت السنتين اللي فاتوا. شكر خاص جدا لكل مشاهدينا مشاهدي قنوات الكرمة، لانه دايما الفيدباك بتاعكم بيفرق معانا كتير جدا. كل الكلمات الرائعة والمشجعة والرقيقة جدا اللي بتتبعت لنا احيانا بتبقى دافع كبير جدا ان احنا نواصل. زي ما انا قلت مع حضراتكم قبل كده، ودايما بقول انه الفيدباك بتاع حضراتكم او التعليقات بتاعت حضراتكم هي اللي بتبقى الاساس، هي بتبقى البوصلة بتاع البرنامج اللي بنقدر نحدد ايه المواضيع اللي نختارها بشكل كبير. فمن فضل حضراتكم اي احتياجات لاي مواضيع طبية تبعتوها لنا. صفحتنا الرئيسية زي ما انتم عارفين وايت كوت الكرمة TV، هتظهر قدامكم على الشاشة دلوقتي عشان تقدروا تبعتوا لنا اي اسئلة، اي ريكومنديشنز خاصة بالبرنامج بمواضيع الفترات الجاية. مهم جدا الصفحة اللي ظاهرة قدام حضراتكم على الشاشة دلوقتي وايت كوت الكرمة TV، تقدروا تبعتوا لنا عليها اي فيدباك، ايه اللي عجبكم، ايه اللي مش عجبكم، ايه اللي محتاج يتغير، ايه الموضوعات اللي نقدر نناقشها الفترات الجاية بشكل كبير. تقدروا كمان تبعتوا لنا على صفحتنا على الانستجرام وايت كوت الكرمة. تقدروا تبعتوا لنا برضو كل الفيدباك بتاعتكم. واحدة من البلاتفورمز المهمة جدا اللي بنعتمد عليها في قنوات الكرمة بشكل كبير هي اليوتيوب. تقدروا حضراتكم تعملوا سبسكريبشن على اليوتيوب تشانل بتاعتنا زي ما ظاهرة قدام حضراتكم. تقدروا تعملوا سبسكرايب وبعد كده نفعل جرس التنبيهات، لأنه ده بيبقى مهم جدا انه يجي لحضراتكم يعني ملحوظات بالحلقات الجديدة اللي بتتحط على شاشات قنوات الكرمة. زي ما انا قلت حلقة هتبقى خاصة جدا سواء على مستوى الموضوع اللي معانا، سواء على مستوى حجم الضيف اللي معانا. كمان حلقة خاصة جدا لانه بنحتفل بمرور سنتين على وايت كوت، فان شاء الله متحمس انه ربنا يدينا حلقة كويسة جدا. يلا بينا نبتدي فقرات برنامجنا النهاردة من وايت كوت.
So there's a condition called amblyopia, and that's the case in which even with the perfect pair of glasses, the kid does not.
You were born with it, you have it, this is extra.
Pigment is actually important in the pathway from the brain to the eye as the baby is developing in the mother.
People describe a discomfort, usually in the upper part of the abdomen.
Okay.
Very often it's related to meals, so meals seems to make it.
Good candidates for orthokeratology are generally people who have a risk of increase.
When we talk about the problems of, or the definition of ADD, there are three components.
Okay.
They are, of course.
What's regenerative medicine?
Regenerative medicine is a rather new branch within the whole ecosystem.
Mondays never come. Of course, they never come if you're not ready.
Okay.
If you are not ready to make a change, they don't come. And if you're not ready to make the right change, they will
have
never.
a multitude of symptoms, including memory loss, language issues, thought process issues, behavioral
So if you
issues.
have high blood pressure, make sure that you take your doctor's advices very seriously. Basically, there are three things that you need to do. One is control your diet. Number two, do some exercise. And number three, see your physician.
But we need to emphasize that there are children who can be diagnosed with arthritis at very young ages.
So majority of people between 30.
Rheumatoid arthritis is a part of arthritis. Arthritis means inflammation of the joint, mean red, hot, swollen joint.
Okay.
Rheumatoid is one part of arthritis out of hundreds of arthritis.
Okay.
And rheumatoid especially is an autoimmune disease, which means the immune system attacking the body.
Hello, my name is Gastelum. I'm a practicing clinical endocrinologist here in Whittier. I've been in the area for about 10 years. Started practicing endocrinology almost 20 years ago now, after actually being an internist for about 3 years. I'd originally trained here in Los Angeles at USC for medical school, did my training at White Memorial for internal medicine residency, and then out in practice for 3 years, and then went back to training again. I trained at Cedars and at Drew in diabetes and endocrinology, and then came back out into the community to practice as an endocrinologist to fill that gap and that need that I had seen earlier in my training. One of the early experiences that led me to practicing endocrinology was right after training. I went to work at Kaiser as an internist. Within the first 6 months, they were sending out emails trying to recruit someone to teach a Spanish diabetes group appointment. We had 2 endocrinologists at our medical center, neither spoke Spanish, and actually on the floor where I worked, I was the only Spanish-speaking physician, so I was drafted into this role of leading these diabetes group appointments. I did that for over a year, and I actually had my office moved down to the endocrine clinic, and then from there, it was about 2 years working there where I was then actually encouraged to go back to training. So I actually left practice for 2 years and went and did my endocrine fellowship, and then came back out to work in the same community where I was at before, but as a diabetes specialist, not practicing internal medicine anymore. One of the things that led me to be a physician is I was born here in the US, but I was raised in South America. I believe 6 of 8 uncles and aunts were physicians practicing, so I was exposed very early to the field of medicine. When I came back to the US for middle school, high school, and college, I had set a goal for myself that I was going to practice and potentially even go back to Peru to practice and at least help care for the underserved. As a physician practicing now, I'm fortunate that my wife is also a physician. She happens to work for the Department of Health, so she's very understanding in terms of the time constraints that we have and the long hours that we work as physicians. I personally see patients usually 6 days a week, sometimes 7, so it can be a strain, but having someone in the house who understands and has practiced medicine, it does make it a little bit easier with the support we get. Even with the hard work that we do, at least 2 of our 3 kids have decided that they want to be physicians as well. They're still a little bit young, but their plans are to go to medical school. They've started volunteering in the hospital, getting their hours in, and they've even joined all the biomedical and science clubs in their high school. But they've expressed the desire to do similar things to what we do in terms of service and commitment to the community. One of the things that we do in our spare time, at least in our household, is travel. We're fortunate one of our children is a little bit older and moved out of the house, but the 2 younger children do still enjoy traveling with us, and we're trying to take advantage of those years that we have with them. So apart from putting in as much time as we do at work, both my wife and I are physicians, it's the time we spend with the family at home and even away from home that make coming back to work and back to patient care so rewarding for us. One of our hobbies, one of my children is getting his license this year, and he likes cars, and it's something that I've always enjoyed. We work on cars together, we attend vintage car races, we drive on racetracks, so it's one of the things that re-energizes us outside of clinic. And I say coming back to work, but this is really not work as a vocation. We want to come back. Usually if you think about something as work, you're not necessarily anxious to come back. We're anxious to be outside of the office just as much as we are to come back to the office and to come back to the hospital to see our patients. And I think I'm very fortunate because in today's world, that's not what people usually think of as work. So this isn't really work. This is what we do with our lives. It's the time we spend away from our family. So it should be spent doing something worthwhile. And I think delivering diabetes care and endocrine care to an underserved community is one of the more important things that we can do, and just as important as giving the time back to our families. So thank you for letting me share some of my life's work and some of my personal life with you as well. I appreciate the time, and stay tuned to keep watching White Coat on Alkarma TV. Thank you.
So there's a condition called amblyopia, and that's the case in which even with the perfect pair of glasses, the kid does not.
You were born with it, you have it, this is extra.
Pigment is actually important in the pathway from the brain to the eye as the baby is developing in the mother.
People describe a discomfort, usually in the upper part of the abdomen.
Okay.
Very often is related to meals, so meals seems to make it.
Good candidates for orthokeratology are generally people who have a risk of increase.
When we talk about the problems of, or the definition of ADD, there are 3 components.
Okay.
They are, of course.
What's regenerative medicine?
Regenerative medicine is a rather new branch within the whole ecosystem.
Mondays never come. Of course, they never come if you're not ready.
Okay.
If you are not ready to make a change, they don't come. And if you're not ready to make the right change, they will
have
never.
a multitude of symptoms, including memory loss, language issues, thought process issues, behavioral.
So if you have high blood pressure, make sure that you take your doctor's advices very seriously. Basically, there are 3 things that you need to do. One is control your diet. Number 2, do some exercise. And number 3, see your physician.
But we need to emphasize that there are children who can be diagnosed with arthritis at very young ages.
So majority of people between 30.
Rheumatoid arthritis is a part of arthritis. Arthritis means inflammation of the joint, mean red, hot, swollen joint.
Okay.
Rheumatoid is one part of arthritis out of hundreds of arthritis. And rheumatoid especially is an autoimmune disease, which means the immune system attacking the body.
اهلا بحضراتكم في الجزء الرئيسي اللي بنتكلم فيه النهارده زي ما انا قلت عن مرض مهم جدا يخص العالم كله. مرض من الامراض اللي زي ما انا قلت ممكن يبقى سهل جدا صعب جدا لو احنا ما سيطرناش عليه. ولما بقول بنسيطر عليه يبقى بنتكلم على الادويه وعن طريق الحياه اللي احنا بنعيشها اللي هو بنسميها اللايف ستايل. It's a pleasure and honor to welcome for the first time in White Coat one of the outstanding endocrinologists. One of his fans, Dr. Christian Gastelum. Welcome, Dr. Gastelum.
Thank you for having me.
So diabetes can be the easiest disease ever if we have control over it, or can be one of the most complicated diseases.
One of the hardest, yes.
One of the hardest, right?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, diabetes, especially type 2, and when we get into the different types of diabetes, is one of the things where the patient would probably have the most impact. I mean, they can do things to change their cholesterol, their blood pressure, but really their lifestyle changes can really determine the course of their type 2 diabetes. So it's actually one of the things that they can control the most. Also, it doesn't mean it's easy. Unfortunately, it's one of the harder things that we have for the patients to do.
And it's always a question in my mind, why do we call diabetes is the 21st century epidemic?
Well, it's because we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. I think we have a couple statistics to show, but right now, at least in the U.S., we have about 30 million diagnosed type 2 diabetics. We have another 80 to 90 million pre-diabetics. So if you add that up, about 1 in 3 people are in the either pre-diabetic or diabetic range.
So 1 out of 9 are diabetics for sure, and 1 out of 3 is pre-diabetic. Wow.
Yes, and if you factor in the cost to us as physicians or in the cost of the healthcare system, it's going to be an overwhelming expense for us eventually. We're already approaching more than $250 billion a year in taking care of our type 2 diabetics.
Wow. So the statistics and the slides we have, what does it show?
So
slide 3 and 4.
Yes, if we go, I think it's the 3rd and 4th slide. One of the biggest risks for diabetes, and we're talking about type 2 in general here, is age. As our population gets older and as they get heavier, you can see there in the different colors, the risk of diabetes grows exponentially as they get to about 60 years of age. But unfortunately, if we go to the next slide, the precursor to that was the overwhelming explosion of diabetes in the U.S. I think there we're looking at going back to in the 1990s on the left of the screen to the current time on the right, and you see the maps just change colors from yellow to red. Obesity has preceded the diabetes epidemic that we have, and it's just getting worse. We're actually not getting better. Despite all of the new medications in the last 5 or 6 years we've more than doubled the medications we have to take care of our diabetics. We're just not getting them better, unfortunately. It's because the wave is just overtaking us, unfortunately.
Right. Is it lifestyle that we have? Processed food has a role in that?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's things about nutrition that we could change really, especially in this country, but we've seen it. We're actually watching it happen in other parts of the world. You go into parts of Asia, parts of Europe, anywhere you go where weight has increased and the easy accessibility of high calorie, high fat foods, you've seen diabetes follow. And you're not talking about a small increase in the number of diabetics, you're talking about a doubling and a tripling of the number of diabetics that we have.
Wow. الحقيقة برضو السؤال الأولاني لدكتور جاسلم النهاردة بنتكلم على ليه بنسمي الدايابيتس أو مرض السكر هو الآفة بتاع القرن ال21 تحديدا. الحقيقة يعني معظم إجاباته كانت عن طريق الإحصائيات، لأنه دايما الإحصائيات هي بتبقى أسهل طريقة إن احنا نشوف بيها حجم المشكلة اللي بنتعامل معاها بشكل كبير. لو بصينا على الإحصائيات بشكل كبير هنلاقي إنه زي ما هو قال 1 من كل 9 دلوقتي في دولة هنا زي الولايات المتحدة تقريبا بيعاني من مرض السكر، مشخص فعليا بمرض السكر. كمان 1 من كل 3 ودي نسبة كبيرة، يعني تلت عدد السكان مهددين بأن هم يجي لهم مرض السكر نتيجة زيادة الوزن الكبير، نتيجة لزيادة زي ما احنا بنقول البروسيسد فود والكلام ده. السلايد اللي طالعه قدامنا على الشاشة بتورينا انه كل ما السن بيزيد، الجزء الاولاني ده من سن 18 ل 29 برضو لو نقدر نتابع بالبوينتر يبقى كويس، من 18 ل 29 بيزيد بشكل كبير جدا مع 30 ل 39، وبنلاقي من اول سن 50 سنة فيما فوق مرض السكر بيزيد جدا. والناس زي ما انا قلت 1 من كل 3 مهدد ان يجيله المرض، 1 من كل 9 مشخص بمرض السكر. لو بصينا على السلايد اللي بعدها الحقيقة هنشوف على مستوى العالم قد ايه الناس مهددة بشكل كبير جدا بالمرض ده. على الشمال خالص هنلاقي من سنة 94 انه دي اعداد الناس اللي كانت متشخصة بمرض السكر، وبتزيد بشكل كبير جدا كل ما اتجهنا لناحية اليمين اللي هي 2015. هنلاقي الارقام زادت بشكل كبير جدا وبشكل مرعب جدا نتيجة زي ما احنا قلنا تغير الحياة وتغير اللايف ستايل وطريقة الاكل الجديدة والاكلات والوجبات السريعة. الحقيقة ارقام مرعبة بشكل كبير جدا. شايفين حضراتكم الزيادة في تشخيص نسبة الدايابيتكس قد ايه، 1 من كل 9 وبأكد على الرقم ده بيعاني فعليا من مرض السكر، 1 من كل 3 مهدد ان يجيله مرض السكر بشكل كبير. Is there any different types of diabetes?
Unfortunately, there are dozens of types of diabetes. Okay. The main two that we deal with, majority of our population is the type 2 diabetic. Okay. And we've gone and changed the nomenclature. It used to be non-insulin dependent, insulin dependent, juvenile diabetes. Now the main two are type 2s, which are 80 to 90% of our patients. Type 1s compromise anywhere up to 8 to 10% of the patients. And then the rest, the other 60 or 70 types of secondary diabetes, whether it's something genetic or something caused by a medication we give a patient, it probably compromises the other 2 to 5% of, but there's 60 to 70 different causes. But they're all held together by high blood glucose. That's the end. That's the end process of the problem.
اوكي. برضه زي عشان برضه حضراتكم تبقوا متابعين معانا، سألته ايه هل في انواع مختلفة لمرض السكر؟ قال لي في النوع الاولاني بيجي في الاطفال، النوع الثاني هو اغلب الناس تقريبا فوق ال 90%، في نوع بيجي مع الحوامل بشكل كبير جدا بنسميه مرض السكر نتيجة للحمل. كمان حاجة تانية مهمة جدا، بعض الأدوية بتأدي بشكل كبير جدا لارتفاع نسبة الجلوكوز في الدم، وبالتالي بتأدي انه لمرض السكر. هنتكلم برضو ونناقش ايه الأدوية دي عشان الناس تتجنبها قدر الإمكان، لأنه ده موضوع مهم جدا الناس تبقى عارفاه. Let's start with type 1. What's type 1 diabetes?
Well, we get that question a lot in the office. What's better to have, 1 or 2? A lot of people think because type 1s end up using insulin, it's worse. But type 1 diabetes, as the care of the disease goes, is actually potentially easier disease. It's
more
a genetic
benign
problem. It's more simple in the sense that you just don't make insulin. If we could replace your insulin perfectly, there's no problem. You don't have an increased risk of heart attack, an increased risk of stroke, weight problems, cholesterol, blood pressure issues. So type 1 is a problem where the body decides to attack the cells that make insulin, and when they die, eventually our insulin production goes down, and we need to replace insulin.
Okay, so type 1 is not as bad as we think, because we think it's way worse because it started early. I get it since I was a kid and stuff like that.
I mean, over the last 10 or 15 years, patients are afraid of needles, but they're really afraid of insulin. Somehow they think that's the end stage of their diabetes, but insulin is what the body produces to control our blood glucose. Unfortunately, type 1 diabetics, the body decides to attack the pancreas, and they can't make any more insulin.
Okay. What about is there any risk factors, like genetic risk factors?
In terms of, actually, traditionally, type 1 diabetes has been considered to be more genetically related. It ran in families. People who have a family history of autoimmune thyroid disease, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, have higher risks of other autoimmune diseases like type 1 diabetes. But now, over the last several years, over the last decade at least, we know that type 2 diabetes, we used to think of it just as lifestyle, as we've mentioned, but it is as genetic as type 1 diabetes, unfortunately. Okay. And in terms of the complexity, we don't know why people get type 2 diabetes. There isn't something as simple as just not making insulin. They'll usually make two or three times the normal amount of insulin, but they're still diabetic, unfortunately.
Okay, because a lot of the questions here, I got big part of it, I'm diabetic, would my kids be like?
Oh, yes. Well, so if we're talking about type 1, it's actually probably less likely that your kids will be diabetic than if you have type 2 diabetes. So if your aunts and uncles, one of your parents has type 2 diabetes, you're overweight, your child was born at a weight above 8 pounds, you had gestational diabetes as a mother, your children are at a much larger risk of getting type 2 diabetes than they would if someone in your family has lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or even type 1 diabetes. There is a slightly higher risk that another child will have the type 1 diabetes, but the metabolic syndrome that comes with type 2 diabetes is much more genetically programmed into us, unfortunately.
Okay. So can we classify type 1 diabetes as like autoimmune?
Yes, this is autoimmune. Type 1 diabetes is autoimmune. They're all diabetes mellitus, so it's all from the Greek word sweet urine. But there are, like I said, 60, 70 different types of diabetes we can get. Type 1 is strictly an autoimmune process where the body attacks the pancreas.
Okay. بالحقيقة يعني ابتدينا بالنوع الأولاني من السكر، أو ناس كتير قوي بتتخيل اللي هو النوع اللي بيجي في الأطفال، أو مش في الأطفال يعني قوي، ولكن النوع اللي بيجي في سن صغير، فبنسميه النوع الأول من السكر. زي ما دكتور جاسلم قال إنه النوع الأول تحديدا بنعتبره نوع من أمراض المناعة، وبالتالي بيجي أحيانا زي ما بنقول كده إيد في إيد مع أنواع أمراض تانية من المناعة. الأسئلة اللي جت بتتكلم سواء من كريستين أو أستاذ ميلاد بيسألوا أنا مريض النوع الأول من السكر، هل أولادي هيجي لهم النوع ده؟ زي ما قال دكتور جاسلم ممكن، ولكن بشكل أقل بكتير جدا، لأنه النوع الثاني من السكر اللي عنده زي ما بقول 90% من الناس هو بيورث بشكل أكبر بكتير جدا من النوع الأولاني. ده مهم جدا إن احنا نبقى عارفين الكلام ده. النوع الثاني فيه نسبة وراثة أكتر بكتير جدا من النوع الأولاني من السكر، ودول النوعين الأساسيين اللي هنتكلم عليهم النهاردة بشكل كبير. حاجة تانية كمان اتكلم عليها دكتور جاسلم، قال إنه أحيانا لو الأم بيجي لها السكر أثناء الحمل أو البيبي بينزل أكبر من الطبيعي 8-9 باوند في المعتاد، برضو بيبقى معرض أكتر للسكر بشكل كبير. برضو بعض أنواع أمراض المناعة بتبقى جزء كبير جدا منها بنعاني من مرض السكر. We have slide 12 here. Can you explain us more about type 1, like how it works, the mechanism for it?
So we don't know what will trigger it. I mean, even in my clinic, we have some patients who have a twin sibling that doesn't have type 1 diabetes and one of the siblings does. Something in their genetics makes them susceptible to starting to produce antibodies that attack the beta cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. So over time, there's a very rapid decline in beta cell mass. So their insulin production, usually traditionally before 18 years old, there's a very rapid decline in a sudden presentation with high sugar and they end up in the hospital. But you can, that's why we've changed the names. We don't call it juvenile diabetes. You can be diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when you're 70. Okay. It's just that the body, for whatever reason, gets triggered to attack the pancreas and knocks off the cells that make insulin.
So it's not related to age?
It's not, no. Yeah, we no longer call it
because
juvenile
that's
diabetes.
A myth we need to correct today.
Yes. So, well, in our clinic and actually in Southern California, about 8 to 10% of our type 2s are actually misdiagnosed type 2s. They have autoimmune diabetes. They're just older than 18 when they got diagnosed. Okay. And it goes, what we teach our physicians and our residents, you have a 50-year-old who's very thin, presents very quickly and very out of control and doesn't respond to medications, they're probably not a type 2, but we've still been so fixed that if they're over 18, they're type 2s. That's just not how it works, unfortunately.
Okay. What's the symptoms that we're expecting for type 1 diabetics?
Well, type 1s, like I said, usually have a little bit more dramatic presentation. They tend to be thinner to begin with, so they're not looking at the typical patient with metabolic syndrome or syndrome X where they're overweight, have high blood pressure, all those things. They're usually relatively healthy. There'll be usually a sudden drop in weight. They'll get the polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia, where they're eating a lot, drinking a lot, and urinating a lot. It's because they're not able to actually store the blood glucose. So it's a more dramatic presentation. You're not going into type 1 diabetes for 6 or 7 months. It's usually a very rapid course, and you end up in your physician's office or in an urgent care in an emergency room with sugars in the 400s and 500s. It's not a subtle presentation. And usually you're not being warned. you're pre-diabetic, you should watch your sugars. Everything's been normal, and then all of a sudden the decline comes.
So there's no warning symptoms and signs. They just
well,
show up in your office or in the urgent care.
They usually, unfortunately for type 1, there's nothing that's going to warn you you're going to get it. Now, there is actually a national registry through the National Institutes of Health and the NIH and the CDC, where anyone who's diagnosed with type 1 diabetes has all their first-degree relatives checked for the antibodies. And you'll find patients who have antibodies to their pancreas who will have it for 30 years and never develop type 1 diabetes. So it's nature and nurture. Something predisposes you to get those antibodies that attack your pancreas, and then something triggers it. We don't know if it's an infection, maybe it's Epstein-Barr virus, something else triggers your body to start attacking the pancreas. But you might have those antibodies there, and they might cause no problems for you the rest of your life.
Okay. الحقيقة برضو بالنسبة للنوع الأول من السكر لما بنتكلم عليه زي ما دكتور جاسلم قال ممكن بيجي للأطفال في سن صغير. usually احنا لسه مع الكونسبت اللي هو بيبقى قبل 18 سنة، ولكن أحيانا ناس أكبر من كده، أكبر من 18 وبيشخصوا بالنوع الأول من مرض السكر، لأنه ده بيبقى مهم جدا، مش كل يعني مش ريليتد قوي لفكره ال 18 سنه، ولكن في معظم الاوقات بيبقوا يعني اطفال اقل من 18 سنه. زي ما هو قال مشكله النوع الاول من السكر انه ملوش يعني ملوش الارم معين يقول لك ان انت السكر بتاعك بدا يزيد. الموضوع بيحصل مره واحده، انه كمان الاطفال مش لازم يبقوا عندهم زياده في الوزن، ولكن ممكن يبقى طفل رفيع جدا وستيل يجيله النوع الاولاني من السكر. كتير جدا من الأطفال نلاقيهم يبتدوا يشربوا أكتر من اللزوم، يشربوا مية وسوائل أكتر من اللزوم، يبتدوا يأكلوا أكتر من اللزوم، وبعد كده بنلاقي لما نيجي يبتدي يحصل لهم وجع في بطنهم وحاجات كده، وبعدين يروحوا للدكتور نلاقي إن هم عندهم النوع الأول من السكر. أحيانا بتبقى البداية درامية جدا زي ما دكتور جاسلم قال، إنه أحيانا بيبقوا في المستشفى على طول نتيجة إنه السكر بيطلع 500 و600. بتبقى يعني البداية بتاعته عادة درامية عن النوع الثاني من السكر بشكل كبير جدا. زي ما أنا قلت مش لازم الطفل يبقى زايد قوي في الوزن، معظم الأطفال بيبقوا يعني عادي، وزنهم عادي جدا عشان يشخصوا بمرض السكر. What about type 2 and the mechanism and the symptoms?
So type 2 is where you get the more subtle presentation. And that's one of the things you'll hear from patients. We see them all the time in our office. Well, I was warned I was pre-diabetic, and we tell them it's kind of like being told maybe you're pregnant. You either are or you aren't. And earlier we spoke about pre-diabetes and diabetes. We'll go over the cutoffs later, but usually it's a much more gradual presentation. And traditionally, before we started changing how we name our different types of diabetes, we used to think if someone presented to the hospital with what we call diabetic ketoacidosis, they had to be a type 1. But now, because we have so many type 2s that go undiagnosed for a long time, they can still present in the hospital with a glucose of 500 or 600. But that's a much more subtle presentation. Usually they're still gaining weight. They'll start with drinking lots of water, urinating a lot. They'll start getting more frequent infections. For women, they'll get more frequent yeast infections. For men, they can even get yeast infections, uncircumcised males. If they present with that, the first thing you worry about is that they have diabetes. And the woman who's presenting with recurrent yeast infections, you'd be worried that they have undiagnosed diabetes. It's a much more mixed presentation, or they might present with no symptoms at all. And the data says on average between 10 and 12 years, you've been pre-diabetic before you actually cross the line that you're actually diagnosed as diabetic. So you could have it for a dozen years.
Okay. برضو الحقيقة النوع الثاني من السكر اللي هو زي ما احنا بنقول 90% من الناس بيبقوا بيشخصوا من النوع الثاني من السكر. زي ما دكتور جاسلم قال انه دايما مفيش يعني اعراض بتحذرك قوي، ولكن بيبقى الواحد تقريبا زي ما هو قال من 10 ل 12 سنة في مرحلة ما قبل السكر اللي بنسميها البري دايابيتس. ودي بتبقى نقطة مهمة جدا ان الواحد دايما يعمل كشوفات دورية عشان يقيس نسبة السكر ويكتشف بدري لو في اي مشكلة. برضو نفس الاعراض، الناس بتاكل اكتر من اللزوم، بتشرب اكتر من اللزوم، الناس بتصحى بالليل احيانا عشان تدخل التواليت اكتر من اللزوم. فده مهم جدا ان احنا دايما نفهم انه الاعراض دي نشفان الريق بشكل كبير جدا، ان المروح للتواليت بشكل كتير اكتر من اللزوم، الاكل بشكل اكتر من اللزوم، ده كله ممكن تبقى اعراض بدري. احيانا ناس كتير ما بيبقاش اي عندها الاعراض دي وستيل بنشخصها مع قياس نسبة السكر بشكل كبير. في السيدات كمان قال انه بعض الاصابات المتكررة بالتهاب التهاب المثانة، التهاب الجهاز البولي، بعض الفطريات اللي بتيجي لبعض السيدات، بتبقى لو حصلت اكتر من الطبيعي، وبالتالي بيبقى يعني زي الارم كبير جدا وبدري جدا انه الشخص ده او السيده دي او الشخص ده مصاب بمرض السكر بشكل كبير جدا. Is there any risk factors for type 2 diabetes? Like, who are more liable to get type 2 diabetes?
Well, there are. As I mentioned, the genetic part of it. We used to think it was more of a lifestyle issue. And there are still huge lifestyle changes that we can make that'll make a massive difference in the diabetes. But it's the family history. So if they're genetically predisposed to it, and it goes along with the metabolic syndrome. So the weight, if they're overweight, if they have a big waist circumference, if they have a waist over 38 inches, a waist to hip ratio for women will measure as well. If they have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and as they approach 60 years of age, there's just all these risk factors that go into it. So the list is 100 different things long. But if you're overweight and you have a family history of diabetes, you're at a huge risk for type 2 diabetes. And we know the numbers. Potentially we have 1 in 3 people that are already either diabetic or have pre-diabetes. So it's about 100 million people in the country.
Okay. Just to make this term more simple to our audience today, what's metabolic syndrome means?
So metabolic syndrome used to be called Syndrome X. It's actually a constellation of symptoms, and we think it's due to insulin resistance. So when we say metabolic syndrome, we're talking about someone who's overweight, obese, has high cholesterol, and hypertension. It's that combination of symptoms, and we believe it's due to insulin resistance, meaning that they're just not efficient with their use of insulin. And I mentioned earlier, type 2 diabetics, when they get diagnosed, we can measure their insulin levels. They'll be 2 and 3 times the upper limit of normal, but they still have high blood sugar, so they're very resistant to the insulin. Those high levels of insulin will affect the liver and how the liver produces cholesterol. They'll affect the blood vessels and how your blood pressure is controlled, and they'll affect your weight. So when we talk about metabolic syndrome, we're talking about high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and obesity. And diabetes follows right along with those things.
So in type 2 diabetes, our bodies is able to make insulin, but we don't know how to use it. That's all
the key unfortunately doesn't fit the lock for the patient.
بالحقيقة برضو النوع الثاني من الأمراض السكر مهم جدا الناس تبقى عارفة انه في حاجات معينة بتخليك اكتر عرضة من الاشخاص العاديين. اولهم طبعا واهمهم هي فكرة المرض العائلي او التاريخ العائلي المرضي. لو الاب والام عندهم سكر especially النوع الثاني، عادة الاولاد بيبقوا اكتر عرضة من غيرهم. السن لوحده عامل مهم جدا، زي ما شفنا السلايد في اول حلقة انه من بعد سن 50 او 60 سنة بيبقى الشخص اكتر عرضة لمرض السكر، لانه جسمه بيبقى حساس اكتر لفكرة السكريات. فمهم جدا انه عند سن 50 سنة او 60 سنة نلاحظ فكرة استهلاك بالظبط كده زي ما حضراتكم شايفين. يمكن من الجزء الثالث على الشمال هتلاقوا من سن 50 ل 59 سنة الناس حدوث السكر بيزيد جدا، من 60 ل 69 بيزيد بشكل كبير جدا. وعلى فكرة لما بنتكلم على انه الجزء البرتقاني ده هو الناس اللي عندهم المشخصين بالسكر، والجزء الاحمر هو الناس اللي عندهم سمنة اللي بتخليهم اكتر عرضة لمرض السكر من غيرهم. فالسن في حد ذاته بيبقى عامل مهم جدا. طبعا السمنة كمان فكرة بنقيس زي ما احنا قلنا بحاجة يعني السمنة نفسها بيبقى فاكتور مهم جدا في وجود مرض السكر. الناس اللي وسطهم هتكلم يعني شوية بالميجرز الامريكاني، الناس اللي وسطهم اكتر من 38 انش او 38 بوصة بشكل عام بيبقى عندهم عرضة للسكر اكتر من غيرهم. طبعا بشكل كبير جدا السكر اثناء الحمل برضو بيخلي السيدة اكتر عرضة لحدوث امراض السكر بشكل عام. فده بيبقى مهم جدا ان حضراتكم تبقوا عارفينه. Diagnostic criteria. I'm one of your patients. When you can tell me, oh, you're diabetic, you're pre-diabetic.
So there's a couple of things. I think we have a slide. If they put up slide 15. Everyone knows about their blood glucose. We worry about that number 100 or 90 or 190. Then one of the bigger things, I don't think we have it on the slide, is their hemoglobin A1C. That's something that can be measured with a blood test. Your physician can actually do it in the office, but that's not the official exam. It has to be done from a blood draw. Anything above 5.7 is an abnormal blood glucose. Anything above 6.5, we say you're frankly diabetic. And when we talk about the blood glucose values that are on the screen, any morning glucose before you eat, anything under 100 is normal. Anything between 100 and 126, you're probably pre-diabetic. That's called impaired fasting glucose. and anything above 126 in the morning would be consistent with diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2. And then in terms of during the day, anything after a meal, within a couple of hours of a meal, under 140 is normal. Anything from 140 to 200, we would say you have prediabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. And then anything over 200, we would say you're in the diabetic range.
And I think slide 16 is our goals, the number that we need to reach.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and slide 16 in terms of what's on that slide are what our targets would be once we're diagnosed. Mm-hmm. For most of our patients, we want them to get as close to 100 as possible. We don't want them to actually become hypoglycemic and have a low blood glucose. So usually we're targeting a morning glucose anywhere from 90 to 130. And I mentioned that hemoglobin A1C, per the American Diabetes Association recommendations, it's under 7. That would be the target. But that's actually still not a normal A1C. A normal A1C is less than 6.5 to be pre-diabetic and under 5.7 to actually not be even pre-diabetic.
Okay.
And then in terms of the postprandial blood glucose, the third number there, anything under 180 would be considered well controlled for a diabetic. And then the other things there are those things we mentioned earlier. We mentioned metabolic syndrome, the blood pressure, the cholesterol, the triglycerides. We have different, slightly tighter targets for those than we do for non-diabetic patients. Their blood pressure should always be less than 130/80. Their bad cholesterol or their LDL cholesterol should be well under 100. The triglycerides under 150, and then their good cholesterol above 40.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. زي ما حضراتكم شايفين مهم جدا ان انا كمان اعرف كمشاهد عادي او حتى مريض للسكر ايه الارقام اللي انا المفروض ابقى عليها او ايه التارجت بتاعي او الهدف بتاعي كمريض للسكر. قلنا نجيب لحضراتكم يعني حاجه سريعه كده نوري حضراتكم انه لو حتى قست سكرك من غير ما تروح للدكتور في البيت تبقى عارف ايه الرينج اللي المفروض تبقى عليه. زي ما شفنا في السلايد تحديدا 15 الشخص العادي او الشخص الطبيعي لو قاس سكره صايم، يعني اول ما صحي الصبح ما اكلش لمده 7 ل 8 ساعات، لو اقل من 100 بيبقى كويس جدا. من 100 ل 126 بنقول انه انت في مرحله ما قبل مرض السكر. اكتر من 126 صايم مهم جدا ان احنا نفهم انه ده خلاص انت كده في مرحله السكر. لو ادينا الواحد 50 جرام من السكر وقسنا سكره بعد ساعتين، لو اقل من 140 بيبقى طبيعي، لو من 140 ل 200 بيبقى في مرحله ما قبل مرض السكر، ودي مرحله مهمه جدا. دايما بنحاول قدر الامكان ان احنا نكتشف الناس فيها عشان العلاج بيبقى يعني اسهل والكومبليكيشنز بتبقى اقل على المدى الطويل. لو اكتر من 200 بيبقى الشخص فعلا يعني بيشخص بمرض السكر، فدي نقطة مهمة جدا. لو حضرتك مريض سكر وسامعنا دلوقتي، السلايد اللي بعدها بتوريك ايه التارجت بتاعتك او ايه الارقام اللي لازم تحققها كمريض للسكر. السكر الصايم ما يزيدش بأي حال من الأحوال عن 90 ل 130. السكر التراكمي اللي هو الناس عارفاه كويس قوي، التست اللي بيتعمل كل 3 شهور ما يزيدش عن 7. بأي حال من الأحوال ضغط الدم ما يزيدش عن 130 ل 80، لأنه ما بنحبش الضغط بيزيد مع مرض السكر، لأنه بيخلي الأعراض الجلطات بتبقى أكتر بكتير جدا من الناس الطبيعية. وبالتالي الدهون الثلاثيه ما تزيدش عن 150. الكوليسترول الجيد يبقى دايما اعلى من 40. دي سلايد مهمه جدا لكل مرضى السكر اللي سامعيننا النهارده او مرحله ما قبل مرض السكر، لانه دي بتساهم بشكل كبير جدا في الناس تعرف ايه الارقام اللي انا المفروض اكون عليها بشكل كبير. So what's the complication? Let's scare our patients a little bit. What's the complications expected from diabetes?
Well, that's that's what everyone's afraid of is the complications. And you hear stories that, well, I know so and so had diabetes forever and didn't take any medicine and never had a problem. That's the unicorn. That's not what's the usual to happen.
Okay.
Every point we talked about A1C. Every point above 7, you increase anywhere from 15 to 20% the chances that you're going to get diabetic eye disease, so retinopathy, chronic kidney disease, or problems with peripheral neuropathy. So every point is worth about 20% of an increase or decreased risk. So the big things we worry about are the eyes, the kidneys, and the feet. And it all has to do with how long you've had diabetes. But unfortunately, because, as I mentioned earlier, we sometimes don't catch it for 10 or 12 years, even at presentation, you get a significant number of people who already present with eye disease, kidney disease, and neuropathy when they're diagnosed. So the key is always prevention, because once you lose vision in an eye, we get your blood glucose perfect, it's not going to restore the vision because you've damaged the retina. You've caused new vascularization to grow. You've damaged the kidneys or you've damaged the nerves that go to your feet. So perfect control the day after you have a complication, it's good,
Right.
but it's not going to bring anything back. So the whole idea is to prevent it. And we know every point we drop your A1C, we're going to protect you by at least 20%.
واو. برضو نقطة مهمة جدا ان احنا يعني نتكلم فيها مع حضراتكم ايه هي المشاكل المتوقعة نتيجة مرض السكر لو وده برضو بأكد عليها لانه نقطة مهمة جدا لو ما تمش السيطرة عليه لانه دي بتبقى جزء مهم جدا. مهم جدا ان احنا نعرف انه مرض السكر بيبقى له complications كبيرة جدا على الكلى وزي ما انا قلت في اول حلقة انه في ناس بينتهوا بفكرة غسيل الكلى بس لان هم مرضى سكر وما تمش السيطرة على الموضوع ده بشكل كبير. الحاجة التانية المهمة انه دايما نتأكد ونفحص العين كل سنة لانه في مشاكل كتيرة جدا بالنسبة لمرضى السكر والعيون لانه الامراض كتيرة جدا. يمكن شهر 11 عاملينه الشهر كل الشهر اللي هنناقش فيه مع حضراتكم كل امراض العيون وهنناقش ده بالتفصيل معانا يعني اطباء مهمين جدا في المجال ده. نقطة كمان مهمة جدا دايما التهاب الاعصاب الطرفيه بيبقى سيء جدا ومؤلم جدا لمرضى السكر. بنشوف ناس انها تبتدي ما تحسش برجليها خالص او رجليها منمله تماما لدرجه انها مش حاسه بيها وللاسف بيبقى في قرح كتيره جدا وناس بتنتهي بفكره انه الامبيوتيشن او ان احنا نقطع يعني بعض الصوابع اجزاء من البتر احيانا للرجل كلها او للقدم كلها. فمهم دايما ان احنا نلاحظ ده. If I'm a diabetic, what would be my annual checklist? Stuff that I need to do every year.
You usually need to check your labs at least twice a year.
Okay.
If you're not well controlled, that's going to be every 3 months. Usually once to maybe every 2 years, an eye exam. If you're well controlled, you can, depending on what the optometrist or ophthalmologist finds, you might go as long as 2 years. But usually there's the annual eye exam where they'll dilate the eye and actually take pictures of the retina. You should be getting a foot exam by your physician, and you should inspect your own feet. But that should also happen at least once a year, if not twice a year. And the more out of control you are, the more frequently it should happen. The more out of control patients, it's every 3 months, labs and an exam. The better control patients can go 6 to 12 months for an exam.
Okay.
And
So
with
it's
those
better to do it quarterly.
Oh yes. Well, yeah. Most of our patients, unfortunately, aren't extremely well controlled. So we want to usually check quarterly their labs.
Okay. برضو من النقط المهمة جدا السؤال اللي الدكتور جاسلم كان عن لو انا مريض سكر ايه الحاجات اللي لازم اعملها كل سنة. قال من المفضل ان انت تزور طبيبك كل 3 شهور. 6 شهور از اوكي بس المفضل ان انت تزور طبيبك كل 3 شهور. مهم جدا ان احنا نعمل التحاليل اللي اتفقنا عليها السكر التراكمي. مهم ان احنا نعمل وظائف للكلى مهمة جدا ده كله بيبقى مهم ان احنا نعمله. نزور دكتور العيون اتليست مرتين في السنة دكتور الكلى مرة في السنة عشان نطمن ان احنا كله كويس. كمان بنعمل فحص للقدمين عشان نشوف فكرة التهاب الأعصاب الطرفية قد إيه ممكن تأثر على البيشنت لأنه ده بيبقى يعني مهم جدا إن إحنا دايما نعمله. Before we get in business and how we treat and all the medications, let's take a break and we'll be back.
Perfect.
ناخد بريك ونرجع تاني مع حضراتكم نتكلم على التريتمنت او العلاج لانه ده بيبقى دايما اهم جزء او اهم فقره في البرنامج وده معظم الاسئله اللي جايه لنا. انا باخد ده ايه الاعراض المتوقعه باخد ده والسكر بتاعي يعني مش تحت الكنترول اقدر اعمل ايه. هناخد بريك نرجع نتكلم مع حضراتكم على العلاج والادويه وايه الجديد اللي ممكن نستخدمه. نشوف حضراتكم بعد الفاصل.
So there's a condition called amblyopia, and that's the case in which even with the perfect pair of glasses, the kid does not.
You were born with it, you have it, this is extra.
Pigment is actually important in the pathway from the brain to the eye as the baby is developing in the mother.
People describe a discomfort, usually in the upper part of the abdomen.
Okay.
Very often it's related to meals, so meals seems to make it.
Good candidates for orthokeratology are generally people who have a risk of increase.
When we talk about the problems of, or the definition of ADD, there are three components.
Okay.
They are, of course.
What's regenerative medicine?
Regenerative medicine is a rather new branch within the whole ecosystem.
Mondays never come. Of course, they never come if you're not ready.
Okay.
If you are not ready to make a change, they don't come. And if you're not ready to make the right change, they will
have
never.
a multitude of symptoms, including memory loss, language issues, thought process issues, behavioral.
So if you have high blood pressure, make sure that you take your doctor's advices very seriously. Basically, there are three things that you need to do. One is control your diet. Number two, do some exercise. And number three, see your
But we need to emphasize that there are children who can be diagnosed with arthritis at very young ages.
So majority of people between 30.
Rheumatoid arthritis is a part of arthritis. Arthritis means inflammation of the joint, mean red, hot, swollen joint.
Okay.
Rheumatoid is one part of arthritis out of hundreds of arthritis.
Okay.
And rheumatoid especially is an autoimmune disease, which means the immune system attacking the body's.
اهلا بحضراتكم مره تانية في الجزء الاخير اللي بنتكلم فيه النهارده على مرض السكر. يعني صدقوني جايلنا كميه اسئله غير طبيعيه، هناخد بعض منهم وبعدين نرجع نكمل الاسئله اللي احنا محضرينها وبعدين ناخد اسئله او تليفونات. Let's take some questions. I have tons of them here. First one, she's asking her fasting blood. She's over 50, and her fasting blood glucose is 144. She's asking, am I diabetic?
More than likely, yes.
Okay.
So unfortunately, she's above that cutoff of 126. There are some patients who will have, for whatever reason on their labs, they always have impaired fasting glucose, and it's anywhere usually in the low 100s. So it'll be 105, 115, but usually never over 126. And they'll be very thin, fit patients. They have something called impaired fasting glucose. They have very little risk of diabetes. But if you're older, if you're overweight, and your blood glucose in the morning is over 126, you're almost certainly diabetic. Because remember, the last glucose to go abnormal is your morning sugar. So when you're on your way to pre-diabetes and diabetes, it's how high you go after the meals that happens first. And no one checks who's not diabetic 2 hours after their meals. They'll check the morning blood sugar, usually with their annual labs. And the doctor will mention it's a little bit high. That should raise all sorts of red flags.
Okay. And she's asking, what should I start? We'll tell her in the treatment part.
Yes.
بالنسبة لسؤال مدام إيمان بتسأل أنا إذا كان قياس السكر بالنسبة لها صايم 144 فبتسأل هل أنا كده مريضة سكر؟ طبعا السؤال الإجابة يعني أنا آسف إن أنا أقول ده بس الإجابة هي في كلمة واحدة. أي حد السكر الصايم بتاعه فوق 126 وده حصل مثلا مرتين فبيبقى مريض سكر اوتوماتيك ولازم يبتدي على علاج بشكل كبير جدا. Another question, type 2 diabetic. He's 55 and his feet is hurting. He's in pain. He's taking vitamin B12 for his peripheral neuropathy and nothing get improved. So what should I do?
Well, one of the things is how well controlled this glucose is. One of the things that will lead to a lot of nerve pain, whether it's the hands or feet, are rapidly changing blood sugar values. So somebody who's very uncontrolled as we start to bring their glucose down, even if they didn't have numbness and tingling in their hands or feet, a lot of times it starts and it's because the nerve actually swells as we control the blood glucose. So if he's not a very well-controlled diabetic, one of the best things he can do is control the diabetes. That tends to cause a lot fewer symptoms. If, unfortunately, he's been out of control for a long time and this is something that's set in, when we get into treatment, there are medications that we can use specifically for diabetic nerve pain. But most of the time it's a control issue. If we improve the control and have much less variability in the glucose, they see a lot a lot of improvement in those symptoms.
And I think it's a good chance to correct this myth. People think with peripheral neuropathy, vitamin B12 is the answer, but the real answer is to control your sugar.
Yes, yeah. There are neuropathies that B12 can help, but not necessarily diabetic peripheral neuropathy.
Okay, so usually the answer is not B12 or GAPA or any of that
it's
stuff.
Control your diet. Well, it's control and prevent it from happening.
اوكي برضو الحقيقه السؤال الثاني اللي جاي لنا حد عنده السكر بياخد انسولين رجليه تعبايه بياخد فيتامين بي 12 ومفيش تحسن. اعتقد ان ده مدام اماني بتسال السؤال ده زي ما قال دكتور جاستلم مدام اماني انه الاجابه الرئيسيه في ده ان الناس كتير قوي بتعتقد انه لما بيحصل التهاب في الاعصاب الطرفيه الرجلين بتبتدي تنمل، انه الحل بيبقى في بعض الادويه اللي برضو هنذكرها دلوقتي وكمان فيتامين بي 12 ولكن مش دي دايما الاجابه الحقيقيه للكلام ده كله او الحاجه الرئيسيه اللي بتخلي الكلام ده كله افضل هو السيطره الافضل على السكر، لانه بالتالي السيطره الافضل على السكر بتؤدي انه التهاب الاعصاب الطرفيه يقل بشكل كبير جدا، وبالتالي يعني الاجابه النموذجيه لده انه السيطره الافضل على السكر هتبقى احسن من فيتامين بي 12. الانسولين لازم يتظبط بشكل كبير جدا لجوز حضرتك طبقا لسؤالك. Another question before we go back to our questions.
Questions are fine.
Somebody's been diabetic for 25 years and he's taken insulin and he cannot control his sugar whatsoever. He has some liver cirrhosis and his toes, I think, they told him your toes will be amputated if you didn't get
control.
Better. 25 years taken. He said I took almost every single kind of insulin and I can't control my sugar.
Well, there's a couple things there. Assuming he's a type 2.
Type 2.
One of the biggest myths is that type 1s use the most insulin because of the sheer numbers. We have more type 2 patients taking insulin than we have type 1 patients. Period. So ending up on insulin after 25 years is actually not uncommon. It's actually the more common thing we see with type 2s. Unfortunately, they started too late, either because of fear of insulin or they weren't properly diagnosed. But insulin, remember, is what the body makes. A lot of times, unfortunately, and fortunately with the explosion of medicine, we have at least 8, maybe 10 different types of insulin we can use in combinations. It's usually the fact that they haven't seen a diabetes specialist. And we were talking before the show, there's fewer than 5,000 endocrinologists in the country, so we're less than 1% of the total physicians, and there's at least 30 million or more type 2 diabetics plus our type 1s. It's usually that they're not using the right combination. Insulin will always work if you use the right amount of insulin.
Primary care, they don't do the right job.
Well, no, they do. Well, unfortunately, even in the last year, we've had 3 new insulins introduced. So it's just exploded. So what people learned in training even 5 or 6 years ago, we have a half dozen new medications we can use that are different types of insulin.
Okay. الحقيقة برضو بالنسبة لله محبة أبدية كان بيسأل سؤال إنه 25 سنة بياخد إنسولين 25 سنة بقاله عنده مرض السكر وبياخد إنسولين مش عارف يسيطر عليه، نسبة تليف في الكبد وصوابعه فيها مشكلة. طبقا لسؤال حضرتك أو حضرتك زي ما قال دكتور جاسلم قال إنه المشكلة دايما الكومبو او انواع الانسولين اللي بتتاخد لازم تماتش بعضها، فمهم جدا ان حضرتك تشوف حد متخصص في ده يكون بيفهم كويس قوي في النقطه دي، لانه زي ما انا قلت زي ما ضيفنا النهارده اللي معانا هو رئيس قسم الاندوكرينولوجي او الغدد الصماء. احيانا بيبقى بعض دكاتره الباطنه او الفاميلي ميديسن او مش يعني شويه مش ابديتد بانواع الانسولين، فلو حضرتك عندك المشكله دي 25 سنه مش عارف تسيطر على السكر بشكل كبير مع الانسولين، مهم ان حضرتك تشوف سبيشالست خاص بالغدد الصماء وتحديدا بمرض السكر، لانه ده احيانا بتبقى الاجابه لحاجات كتيره. 38 years old. I'm sorry. Let's take more questions.
Yeah,
more questions. 38 years old. She said she has severe asthma and she's on prednisone 40 milligram a day, and that leads she can't control her blood sugar. So she's asking what to do.
Well, I mean, that's one of the situations where in some cases, some people's diabetes is truly due to medication like prednisone or other steroids they're taking. If they weren't on those medicines, they wouldn't have high blood sugars. But if you're frankly diabetic and on prednisone, that gets into the expert part. We have ways we treat those patients differently than diabetics not on prednisone. You have to adjust the type of medicine you use, and sometimes they're using still a combination of if they weren't on the steroids, it would just be on pills. But with the steroids, we have to make accommodations, and we'll use specific types of insulin at specific times because we know how the steroid affects your blood glucose. It tends to be a very big problem after your meals with the blood sugar, and they'll have low blood sugars during the morning hours and overnight. So you can't just crank up whatever they're on and treat them over the 24 hours. You have to treat for the effect of the steroid, unfortunately. Okay. That's a common reason why they get referred to diabetes clinic.
Okay. برضو الحقيقة السؤال برضو مدام إيمان بتسأل إنه هي عندها أزمة جامدة جدا، بتاخد 40 مللي جرام من البرينيزون أو الستيرويدز، وبتسأل أنا السكر بتاعي مش عارفة أسيطر عليه. زي ما قال دكتور جاسلم إنه لازم حضرتك تشوفي متخصص خاص في الغدد الصماء وبالذات في السكر، عشان برضو أنواع معينة من الأنسولين هي اللي بتنفع تتاخد وبتتاخد في أوقات محددة، يعني هم بيعملوها أحسن من يعني الدكاترة العاديين. فمهم جدا إنه دايما نتكلم مع السبيشالست، لأنه أحيانا لو البرايمري كير ما عرفش يسيطر على السكر بشكل كبير جدا، هم الناس دي وظيفتهم ان هم بيعملوا ده بشكل كويس جدا. فمهم ان احنا دايما نشوف المتخصص في ده. I'm sorry, another question. She's 25 years old and she's pregnant, and they told her she has gestational diabetes. Yeah. She's scared to death to take any kind of medication. So she's asking, is it safe?
Well, the first thing is the gestational diabetes is the worst, not the worst thing, but that's much more dangerous than any medication she's going to potentially take to control her diabetes.
Oh, I love that answer.
Yes, the out of control glucose is the biggest danger to the baby. And there's a whole list of complications that can happen. The safest thing is always insulin, because the body makes insulin. Remember, the body doesn't make any of the pills we take. Is not a natural compound our bodies have. We have regular human insulin, which is an exact copy of our own insulin. That would be the safest thing you could possibly take. Fortunately, most gestational diabetics can do it with diet. And there's quite a large percentage of them that if they control what they eat, they'll be able to fix their diabetes. But if they do need medication, insulin is actually the safest. We have, fortunately, quite a bit of data that there are some of the pills we do use in type 2 diabetics are very safe for pregnant women. But the best thing is the diet. And then if you're worried about safety, insulin is actually the safest thing you can use. Its main side effect is it lowers your blood glucose.
Because that's her next question. She's asking, her doctor suggested metformin, so she's asking you, is that safe?
No, we do use it all the time. Unfortunately now, I mean, a lot of the questions have come from older patients. We used to think of type 2 diabetes as a 50 and 60-year-old disease. We see 20-year-olds and teenagers with type 2 diabetes now. So we do have a lot of women who, for other reasons, we've given them metformin for their pre-diabetes even before they're pregnant. They continue it safely through their pregnancy, and it doesn't cause a problem for the baby.
Okay, I have another question, and that would be the last one before we go back to our... she's hypothyroid. She has hypothyroidism, and she has Hashimoto's since 17 years ago, and she's diabetic, and she's taken levothyroxine 50 microgram. That means, she's asking if that means my thyroid is still working.
So usually, and that gets into the diagnosis. So if this patient came to me and is recently diagnosed with diabetes, the pills aren't working, I would be worried they also have autoimmune diabetes, because type 1 diabetes and Hashimoto's, they're associated. If you were overweight, you know, and you can still have type 2 diabetes and have Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's, eventually your thyroid does burn out. The longer you've had Hashimoto's, the less of your own thyroid function you'll have. So the dose will change over time, depending on her weight. 50 micrograms for an average sized person is a pretty small dose, so she probably still has some endogenous thyroid function. It's not like our diabetics where the insulin just drops off to zero. But the Hashimoto's, the autoimmune thyroid disease, is a very slow decline in your thyroid function. It might never completely burn out, but usually by 10 or 15 years, we're saying it's pretty much burning out.
The thyroid is out.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do to make it faster or slower. It's just, unfortunately, the body decided to attack the thyroid.
And probably she's under the wrong label then. She might be like... it's like I said, it's 8 to 10%. And if you do the math, there's 30 million type 2 diabetics. 3 million of them are misdiagnosed, potentially. That's more than we have of type 1. Right. الحقيقة برضو من الأسئلة المهمة جدا اللي جات لنا إنه حد بعت لنا سؤال إنه هي عندها 25 سنة حامل، الدكتور قال لها إنه عندك سكر أثناء الحمل، نتيجة لزيادة وزنها الكبير جدا أثناء الحمل. فهي بتسأل إنه is it safe إن أنا آخد أدوية. الحقيقة يعني أنا حبيت جدا دكتور الإجابة بتاعت دكتور جاسلم، لأنه الإجابة بتاعته باختصار شديد جدا هي إنه السكر اللي عندك خطر على البيبي أكتر من الأدوية اللي ممكن تتاخد أثناء الحمل. فمهم جدا حضرتك تاخدي أدوية سيف. حضرتك بعتي سألتي تحديدا على الميتفورمين سيف. زي ما قال دكتور جاسلم كمان إنه لو حضرتك تقدري تاخدي انسولين ده بيبقى أقرب للطبيعة بتاعة جسمنا أحسن كمان من الميتفورمين. فده ممكن يبقى جزء من الموضوع. سؤال تاني جالنا على الهاشيموتو ثايرويدايتس اللي هو المرض هاشيموتو. سنس ان احنا معانا اندوكراينولوجيست، وعلى فكرة الشهر الجاي برضو هنعمل حلقة تانية معاه خاصة بأمراض الغدة الدرقية لكل اللي يهمه الموضوع. ولكن هجاوب السؤال ده بسرعة عن مرض هاشيموتو. من 17 سنة بتاخد ليفوثايروكسين 50 مللي جرام. زي ما قال دكتور جاسلم عادة هاشيموتو بعد 10-15 سنة بتبقى الغدة تقريبا از اوت، لأنه بيحصل في يعني ديتريوريشن كبير جدا في وظائف الغدة الدرقية. فخلال 10-15 سنة الغدة تقريبا بتبطل تشتغل. فده بيعتمد على 17 سنة بالنسبة لهاشيموتو فترة طويلة. غالبا بشكل كبير جدا الغدة يعني قربت تتوقف انها تشتغل. مهم جدا ان احنا دايما نعمل فحص دوري لانه ده مهم جدا، وان احنا نفضل على الميديكيشنز. يعني هكتفي بالاسئله دي دلوقتي ونرجع هناخد يعني I promise ان احنا ناخد اسئله تانية بعد شويه. Let's get in business. What Dr. Gastelum do to his patients when he treats their diabetes?
All the medications. So even the question comes up, we've talked earlier between the difference between type 1s and type 2s. Unfortunately, type 1s, a lot of people will try to say, well, can I fix it with diet and exercise? No. I mean, you don't make insulin. Unfortunately, we have to replace it. So when we're talking about medical therapy, we're usually sticking to our type 2s. No matter what guidelines you follow, whether it's the American Diabetes Association, the American College of Endocrinology, for type 2s, the first thing is diet and lifestyle changes, diet and exercise. And we've mentioned weight and metabolic syndrome. So patients, so the viewers know for...
Can we take a phone call?
Yes, okay. Yeah.
Okay. معنا بنت رب from Florida. We have the first phone call from Florida. تفضلي حضرتك على الهواء فندم.
Okay. I was diagnosed with diabetes I was over 25. And I have been diabetic for 45 years. I started with pills, and now I'm taking insulin. And I've been taking insulin for large quantities of insulin. And finally, the endocrinologist asked me to take Actos to help out with the insulin. If there is any other medication I can take other than Actos.
Do you have any side effects from the Actos? Like, why do you need a different medication? Do you have any side effects?
I'm sorry?
حضرتك عندك do you have side effects؟ حضرتك عندك أعراض جانبية من الأكتوز؟
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question, please?
Sure. Do you have any side effects from Actos specifically? That's why you're asking for a different...
I heard it has many side effects like the bladder cancer and stuff like that. And I have heart problems.
Well,
so the doctor doesn't like it very much because it says it plays with the blood pressure very much.
Well, even for type 1s, we'll use things on top of insulin to try to make them use less insulin or make their sugars.
Type 2.
Well, and for type 2s,
years old when I had diabetes.
Yeah, no, for type 2s, we have even more options. There's at least a half dozen medicines we'll give them with their insulin to either make them use less insulin, decrease the risk that they go low. Actos is one of the most still added because it actually helps make you more insulin sensitive.
But it seems like she has...
if there's reasons you can't take it, but we still have metformin. We have other types of injections we'll give along with insulin to purposely lower the amount of insulin you use. Not that insulin is bad to take, but especially if someone's using large doses or can't get well controlled with just the insulin, we don't necessarily stop all of the oral medications. There are some that we will take away just because they're on insulin, but there are a lot of others we'll add on top of the insulin to help with the control for the patients.
So with her bladder cancer and...
well, specifically to Actos, one of the warnings, one of the contraindications to Actos because it can cause an increase in fluid is if you have chronic heart failure, CHF. The warnings about bladder disease that came with that class of medications, the TZDs, they've been disproven. There's been subsequent studies that we think there's very little risk of bladder cancer with those medications, but the cardiac warnings because of fluid still holds for patients.
Okay. الحقيقه زي ما حضرتك سمعتي الاجابه بتاعت دكتور جاسلم انه مش لازم عشان حضرتك على انسولين ممكن ادويه تانية تتحط. طبعا ما بنحبش الاكتوز مع فكره البيشنتس اللي عندهم مشاكل في القلب، لانه بيزود نسبه انه الجسم يقدر يعني الفلويد ريتنشن، انه الجسم يحتفظ بالفلويدز اللي موجوده جواه، وده بيأذي القلب بشكل كبير جدا. فما بنحبش الاكتوز مع اي حد عنده مشاكل في القلب. برضو بالنسبه لسؤال حضرتك عن البلادر كانسر، انه في كان كونسيرنز موجوده على الاكتوز والبلادر كانسر، ولكن دول اتشالوا. الكونسيرنز الاكبر موجوده على القلب، عشان كده ما حضرتك المفروض فعلا تغيري الاكتوز زي ما حضرتك بتقولي. ممكن انواع تانية من الميديكيشن تتاخد زي الميتفورمين، وده بيبقى كويس جدا مع الانسولين في حاله حضرتك، بحيث ان احنا نبعد على المشاكل او الاعراض الجانبيه الخاصه بالقلب او بسرطان المثانه بشكل كبير جدا. We have another phone call from California. We're not going to do medications, but دولة من كاليفورنيا. اتفضلي حضرتك على الهواء يا فندم.
الو.
اتفضلي يا فندم حضرتك على الهواء.
الو.
ايوه يا فندم اتفضلي حضرتك على الهواء، اتفضلي.
ايوه دكتور تامر، ازيك؟
ازيك يا فندم حضرتك على الهواء، اتفضلي.
انا باخد ميتفورمين. انا السكر بتاعي، السكر التراكمي بتاعي كويس يعني 5.4، لكن الميتفورمين بيشتغل معاي كويس، لكن ساعات يجي بالليل السكر يعلى خالص. الصبح الصايم بيبقى 80 لغايه 90، في اثناء بالليل بعد الاكل وكل بالليل يعني 150 140، لكن مره كده يجي يطلع يبقى 200 وشويه. ده ليه كده بيعمل كده؟ هل في حاجه في الجسم بتفرز؟ بعدين انا عندي كان مشكله بسيطه في القلب وكده، فهل الميتفورمين ضد القلب وضد الحاجات دي؟ ممكن دكتور تامر تفيدني بالموضوع ده؟
اكيد. حضرتك عندك كام سنه؟ معلش قبل ما حضرتك
نعم.
حضرتك كام سنه؟ السن قد ايه؟
مش سامعه.
السن بتاع حضرتك قد ايه؟ السن السن بتاع حضرتك
70.
كام؟
70.
وحضرتك عندك سكر بقالك قد ايه؟
70.
عند حضرتك سكر متشخصه بالسكر بقال حضرتك قد ايه؟ كام سنه؟
4-5 سنين كده تقريبا.
Okay. Okay. She's 70 years old, and then she had been diabetic for 5 years, and she's taking metformin by itself. She has got fasting glucose in the morning, but at night it goes up to like 200s.
So that's metformin is one after diet and exercise. That's the first medication on pretty much every guideline we have for pre-diabetics or diabetics. Even if you've only had diabetes for a couple of years, metformin can only do so much, especially for the meal times. So as long as their A1C is controlled, I mean, if
it's 5.8, she said.
So it's probably got to do a lot with what she's eating. Okay. So she probably runs most of the day quite a bit lower.
That's what she said. She's between like 90 to 120, but at night spikes to over 200.
It's what she's eating at night. So it's the carbohydrates. And then also one of the caveats, one of the warnings is you have to know when you're checking your blood glucose. So checking half hour after you eat dinner doesn't count.
Okay.
That standard of 180 or 200 for the target is at least 2 hours after you've finished eating.
Okay.
So one of the things is to know when she's checking, but usually the dinner will be the high carb meal, or the bigger meal of the day, and that's why she's spiking. But unfortunately also metformin doesn't cause low blood glucose. So if she was taking a different medicine, we would actually be worried that she's having big lows in the middle of the night. But with the metformin, with an A1C under 6, she's probably relatively well controlled. She probably needs to fix what she's doing at night for her meals.
بالنسبة لإجابة سؤال حضرتك مدام دولة from كاليفورنيا، الميتفورمين يعني ما بيعملش أي حاجة خالص للقلب، يعني عقار جيد جدا، ملوش أي آثار جانبية على القلب. زي ما قلتي حضرتك إن سكرك بيفضل معظم اليوم كويس، وبيجي بالليل هو اللي بيزيد بشكل كبير. فمهم جدا ان احنا نهتم بحاجتين. الحاجه الاولى الحاجه اللي حضرتك بتاكليها بالليل هي اللي بتسبب السكر انه يزيد بشكل كبير جدا، مش المشكله في الميتفورمين، المشكله في الدينر ميل اللي حضرتك او وجبه العشاء اللي حضرتك بتاخديها بالليل، لازم نقلل فيها نسبه الكربوهيدرات. النقطه الثانيه المهمه اللي قالها دكتور جاسلم انه مهم جدا ان احنا نعرف امتى ناخد قياسات السكر بتاعتنا. فالاحسن حاجه ان احنا ناخد قياسات السكر ساعتين بعد ما حضرتك تخلصي العشاء خالص، تاخديها بعد ساعتين مش على طول بعد الاكل، لانه ده ما بيبقاش القياس الصحيح قوي. مهم جدا ان احنا نهتم ان احنا ناخد القياس بتاع السكر بعد ما نخلص العشاء بساعتين. So ideally when we take the glucose readings in general.
So if you're not taking insulin, usually the recommendations from the ADA are to at least check a fasting blood sugar. If you're taking more than 1 dose of insulin a day or a type 1 diabetic, the recommendations are actually anywhere from 6 to 10 checks of blood glucose per day, so it's a lot of poking. But most of your type 2s on 1 or 2 oral medications, usually the fasting glucose is what we want to follow. Occasionally we'll ask them to check a bedtime glucose so that we use those two, but the typical patient will be between 1 and 2. If you're taking multiple injections of insulin, whether you're type 1 or type 2, it's at least 6 a day, if not up to 10 a day.
Okay. Is it preferable, I have another question here, is it preferable to take it fasting in the morning?
Fasting, and if the pre-bedtime or before dinner glucose is the one that'll give us an idea how you're doing with your meals. But
and
that
it's
morning,
2 hours after.
At least 2 hours after you go to bed. And if a comment about metformin, she asked, and we had the question earlier, metformin is probably one of the safer medicines we have. We have hundreds of thousands of patient years experience with metformin here and in Europe. And if anything, we're getting more and more data that metformin probably lowers the risk of death for diabetics, more than likely, lowers the risk of prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer. So misinformation is out there about how metformin works, but it's likely one of our safest medicines. We've had it for decades, and we've collected thousands and thousands of patient years worth of data on it.
Okay. معانا تليفون من كاليفورنيا. I have another phone call from California. سامية من كاليفورنيا، اتفضلي يا فندم، حضرتك معانا على الهواء.
الو،
اتفضلي يا فندم، حضرتك على الهواء. اتفضلي.
ايوه، انا باخد دواء اسمه انفوكانا الصبح 300 مللي جرام.
الايه يا فندم؟
باخد
الدواء
انفوكانا.
انفوكانا، اوكي.
يعني وبالليل ليبوزايت 5 مللي جرام.
اوكي.
لكن لما الصبح بيكون لما بقت when I test my blood sugar it's over 160.
اوكي.
وبالليل بيبقى 290 300 sometimes. بس انا I'm very careful with my food، يعني باخد اكلي كله بالشعير، بالشعير.
حضرتك مش على ميتفورمين خالص؟ حضرتك بتاخدي ميتفورمين ولا بس انفوكانا وجليبوزايد؟
لا بس انفوكانا وجليبوزايد.
اوكي. حضرتك السكر بتاع حضرتك بالليل هو اللي ما عندوش كنترول؟
بيبقى عالي قوي، بيبقى اوفر 300 sometimes.
اوكي. الهيموجلوبين A1C بتاع حضرتك التراكمي كام بتاع حضرتك؟ A1C؟
التراكمي 8 وشويه.
Okay. She's taking Invokana 300 milligram in the morning and glipizide 5 milligram at night. Her hemoglobin A1C is 8 point something, and her sugar usually spikes at night over 300.
How long has she been diabetic?
حضرتك بقالك عندك سكر قد ايه يا فندم؟
هلو؟
ايوه يا فندم، حضرتك عندك سكر بقالك قد ايه؟
أكثر من 30 سنة.
More than 30 years.
أنا عمري 80 سنة.
She's 80 years old.
She probably, unfortunately, she probably needs a little bit of insulin without seeing all of her labs. Especially glipizide, glipizide, Amaryl, there's a whole class of medications called sulfonylureas. They will only really work if you still make insulin. So the longer you've had diabetes, going on 3 decades, there might not be a lot of insulin left. The Invokana, it's in a newer class of medications called SGLT2s. They actually work independently of insulin. So even if you didn't produce any insulin, they're still going to have an impact on your blood glucose. That's probably what's keeping her in the 8s and not in the 10s and 11s. She more than likely needs either to stop the one of the medicines she's taking, the glipizide or glipizide, and maybe be added on some insulin because she probably doesn't have enough of her own insulin production left. That's one of the worries for us in the endocrine clinic and the diabetes clinic is someone who's been on their orals and is taking them and losing control. That means that their insulin production is declining, which does happen to type 2s. In the beginning, they make a lot of insulin, but over the years, the cells can't keep up, and they actually burn out in a different way than type 1 diabetes, and their insulin production actually starts to decline. And that's one of the signs.
الحقيقه يعني نقطه مهمه جدا قالها دكتور جاسلم، انه حضرتك بتاخدي الجليبوزايد او الجليبرايد بالليل، ده ما بيديش حضرتك الكنترول الكفايه، نتيجه انه حضرتك بقالك 30 سنه مريضه سكر، وبالتالي البنكرياس ما بيصنعش انسولين انيمور. فمهم جدا ان احنا نوقف الجليبوزايد اللي حضرتك بتاخديه ونحط حضرتك على انسولين، لانه في الحاله دي مهم جدا ان يبقى انسولين يعني جزء من العلاج، نتيجه انه البنكرياس تقريبا ما بيصنعش انسولين خالص في الكيس دي، وده هيخلي السكر التراكمي بتاع حضرتك افضل، وهيخلي السيطره او الجلوكوز كنترول بالليل هيبقى افضل بشكل كبير جدا. One last question. People think the insulin is the end of the world. What's your message for them today? If you can look at your camera and tell them your message.
So insulin is what our body produces to control our blood glucose. It's actually one of several hormones, but it's the most important hormone that it produces. So starting insulin early, we've actually had data for more than a decade that using insulin early in your type 2 diabetes actually slows down the progression of the diabetes.
زي ما قال دكتور جاسلم، الانسولين مش نهايه المطاف زي ما كل مرضى السكر بيتخيلوا، بيبقى مفيد جدا. هنعمل حلقه تانية هنناقش فيها كل الادويه، لانه احنا تقريبا ما ناقشناش اي نوع من الادويه النهارده، ولكن هنعمل حلقه تانية الشهر الجاي نكون فيها مع حضراتكم نتكلم على كل انواع الادويه. بشكر حضراتكم على التفاعل والسبورت اللي انتوا بتديه لنا. Thank you so much Dr. Gastelum. It's educative as usual.
Yes,
بشكر حضراتكم مرة تانية على التفاعل. كل سنة وايت كوت طيب، كل سنة والكرمة طيبة وقادرة انها تقدم رسالة قوية ومفيدة لكل أولاد الله في كل العالم. بشكر حضراتكم، نشوفكم إن شاء الله على خير حلقة جديدة من وايت كوت السبت الجاي.